So if you're tuning into this episode, then there are two things that are for sure. Number one, you love talking about audiophile grade gear. That's why you're here. And number two, you respect the brand that we're featuring today because we even way back in the day when they were dominating the competition with their W6 sub, they have evolved into such a great offering of a company. And there's so many things that make them different, whether it's the engineering, the product offering, or anything else in between, including its manufacturing. JL Audio certainly has its place in our industry and one at a very high level. We're lucky enough to be joined by Steve Turrisi, their product expert, who's an OG in itself. So I'd love to have him on today to have the discussion about JL Audio and audiophile grade componentry. This is CMA Connected, brought to you by SiriusXM, all about JL Audio. And it starts now. Hey everybody, welcome to another CMA Connected, brought to you by SiriusXM. I'm your host, Ben Wu, and as mentioned, we are talking about one of the legendary brands in our industry. Of course, we're talking about JL Audio, and we are lucky to be joined by another OG, which is, of course, Steve Turrisi, their product specialist, joining us today. Now, Steve, there's a lot to cover here, a lot to unpack when it comes to the innovations, the technology, the benchmarks, and the trends that JL Audio has been responsible for within our industry. Can you give us a quick overview, however, of the type of conversation we're going to be having today?
Well, first, Ben, thank you once again for having us here on CMA Live. This is an awesome opportunity. We always love sharing with your audience and being a part of the conversation, especially when it comes to audiophile grade stuff. Now, as a company, you kind of mentioned a lot of it already. We're obsessive in our engineering. We try to develop products that the market can really benefit from. And many of them, as you mentioned, are made right here in our South Florida facility. Not all of them, mind you, but many of them, especially our premium products like the W6s and W7s, and of course the C7 products as well.
It's not every day I get Steve Turrisi to myself, so we're going to have fun with this one and get you some answers and insight that you want to know about when it comes to JL Audio. But first, we're going to give an opportunity for our partner, SiriusXM, to remind you dealers out there why you love it. And when we come back, let's go one-on-one with Steve Turrisi from JL Audio.
Hey guys, Ricky Lima here from SiriusXM. I had a chance to speak to some dealers and ask them what they love about selling SiriusXM. Here's what they had to say.
Coast-to-coast coverage.
I love SiriusXM for commercial-free music.
It's a great add-on sale and a profit opportunity.
We love selling SiriusXM because you can listen to the same channel coast to coast.
Profitability and ease of installation. It's a no-brainer.
We love selling SiriusXM for its ease of installation, great profitability, and reliability. People love it.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show. So, as mentioned, we do have Steve Turrisi from JL Audio here joining us, and we're going to talk a little bit and in great detail, because these are the following items we're going to discuss here really are things that set JL Audio apart. And sometimes to do that and to better illustrate the story, we're going to have to go back in time a little bit. The first thing I want to absolutely acknowledge and discuss with you, Steve, is the engineering side of things. JL Audio is a brand. It's got great brand recognition and so on and so forth. But so much of that brand loyalty was actually built on its obsessive engineering in so many levels. So maybe you can share with us some of these examples that help support that statement.
Yeah, actually, Ben, it's funny. You mentioned the W6s in the earlier part of our conversation, and that's an excellent example about our obsessive engineering. I remember I wasn't even working for JL Audio when the W6s were originally being developed, but I would go down to JL Audio on a regular basis, usually Wednesdays, if you want to know. And I remember one day I went there on a Wednesday, and I went in to go say hi to Lucio, and he had this room where he did a lot of his testing. And I go into the room, and he had 3 woofers in a box, which was weird in itself. Why 3? And what he told me was he had a switcher that can go between the 3 different chambers in the box, and he was listening to the same track over and over again. So I came in the middle of this. So, he's playing it, and I'm just waiting for my chance to talk. And eventually he turns the music down. And it's like, which one did you prefer? And I was like, oh, I didn't know you wanted my input. Let me try this again. Go ahead and play it again. So I'm listening, and I couldn't hear a difference between any of them. And I said, well, I'm not picking up on a difference. What's different? He said, well, there's 3 different spiders on the 3 different versions of the W6. And I was like, the spider? That's the difference? A year later, that product launched. So whatever he was doing, he was obsessed over the performance of this product. That mentality has maintained, all of our engineers have that same type of process. We'll iterate and iterate and iterate until we're getting exactly the type of performance that we think that that particular product can do. And it exists not only in speaker design, component speakers, as well as our engineering for the amplifiers and DSP. Across the board, that's the kind of things that we do. We'll try each one of these different versions and make sure we're getting exactly what we want from this particular product.
So if you're wondering why JL Audio doesn't come up with brand new product every 3 months, I think Steve said it right there. This is a team that is hyper obsessed with making sure every detail, every decision made is the exact right for its purpose. And on that topic of purpose, the other focus that JL Audio has is very evident in their product offering is how application focused their products are. Now remember, we're talking about a company that started in one category, but over the years has now expanded to several categories. The difference here, though, is that each category acquisition or expansion definitely took its time, but was done so in a very specific manner to maintain that whole application focused type of philosophy. Steve, can you speak to us a little bit about how that actually deploys when it comes to making new product for a new category?
Yeah, Ben, that's a really good point. The application specific nature of all of our products is kind of vital to who we are. And again, leaning on those W6s, the fact that we did them in threes was actually part of the application. 10-inch subwoofers at the time were the most popular subwoofers. And, two of them would fit in most sedans pretty easily. Four of them gets a little hard between shock towers and underneath the parcel tray in the back of a car. It gets hard to fit four of them, but three. We could do three. So we actually developed the product with that application in mind. That type of mentality exists across lots of different products. A couple of examples, the obvious one would be stealth boxes, where it's not just a form factor, it's the cosmetics of it, it blends into the interior, and of course it sounds the way we want in that very specific application. But even like things like our component speakers, we're anticipating that you're installing these in vehicles. So we're designing a mid-bass driver to fit into the door cavity. That's the expectation. Mid-range in a compromised location like a dash. That's what we're planning on. We design this based on what we anticipate the need of the user would be. And another great example, kind of changing genres a little bit, is over in our marine world. In the marine world, we made oversized speakers to give additional output capability. Understanding that environment, understanding that application allows us, we feel, to make a better product for the end user, something that is demonstrably better in some way because of the application-specific focus.
Steve, I want to take this opportunity to also point out that, the sum of all your parts really is what results in the final product that you have today. And for our audiophile listeners tuning in, I think what I'm about to say here might also ring for them. And that is the fact that JL Audio is one of the very few companies within our car audio industry that also has a footprint within home audio, and at a very high level, in fact.
Yeah, Ben, that's true. We got into home audio a number of years ago, and we came out with what we call floor standing subwoofers. Of course, the Gotham is the one everybody loves, the cool curvy nature, and the twin 13 W7s that go in that one. It's a massive subwoofer and it's awesome. But we've also gone into the walls, so to speak. We actually have a number of different in-wall subwoofers. It kind of goes back to the whole application specific and obsessive engineering that we've been talking about. We make these products for that home audio environment for a specific application. If I may, I'll just kind of talk a little bit about that in-wall. It's a question we get in tech lines all the time. I know it says in-wall, but can I put it underneath the sofa? Well, you can do whatever you'd like with it, but it was designed to hang inside of a wall and give a certain type of performance. That is a really neat thing. And, again, home audio, mobile, marine, power sports, we have the scope of offerings all with the same insane obsession to engineering and that application focus.
So again, we're talking about audiophile grade componentry. And truly, I don't believe that any brand or any product can truly be stamped audiophile grade if it hasn't had at least a short list, if not a long list, of innovations along the way. Brands don't become great brands because they just do what everybody else does. Great brands are great brands because they've earned that position in the hierarchy of all brands. Having said that, I'd like Steve to point out a couple of these key innovations that really have placed JL Audio ahead of the curve over the last few decades.
I think over the years, we've had a number of innovations. One that often rings into my mind is the fact that we made such incredible shallow mount subwoofers. Back in the day when we were developing like the 13 TW5 that's used in the in-wall product that I mentioned, as well as very good for under seat and behind seat applications and mobile audio. the time frame back then was a desire to have a shallow woofer. So the normal approach would be to take an existing frame and just make it shallower and kind of squish everything together. Our team took a different approach. We actually developed an entire new way of assembling and designing a loudspeaker. The concentric tube was the patent that we came out with that allowed us to do all of that. This was groundbreaking. This was, this was not following a market trend and just making a squish speaker. This was reinventing the way we designed and built a loudspeaker, literally from the inside out. That type of innovation is unusual, I think, in our industry. There's a bunch of copies that happen throughout the entire industry, and our team ignores that. And we just focus on making the product that we think is right using solid quality engineering. May not always be the prettiest product out there, but it's always going to give the performance that we promise. That I can still promise.
This next question, Steve, is one that I've been holding close to my heart because I'll be honest, I can't ask this question to very many, if not any other manufacturer in this space. And that is about the American manufacturing of some of your higher end products. This is something that is ultra unique to JL Audio, and I absolutely want to make sure you had some time to speak about how unique the American manufacturing plant is for JL Audio.
I think it is unique, and I can tell you that based on the amount of people and the size that we need to be able to do this, I can see why it's unique. It's not an inexpensive venture to get into American manufacturing. Our team is well deserved to be acknowledged for the efforts that they put in there. The TW3s are currently made here, the W6 V3s, the W7s, some of our highest level products, the component speakers, the C7 and the 6.5 in mid-range are made here on premises, right next to our engineering team. So not only are they engineering the product, we're building it here, and they're helping set up those production lines. There are certain things that make our product a little bit more challenging in terms of assembly, and we try to design that in from the engineering side to make it easier for our team. And we work together. We build our own fixtures here on site. It's quite an operation that we put together over the years. And I've been here for a long time, and I remember having a small team of about 20 people that were doing certain things. To scale up to the point where we have roughly 500 people that are working in our manufacturing facility building these products and all the support that goes with that. It's an enormous investment, but one that we think is pretty important. And hopefully you can appreciate what we've put into the product, because it's not just a sum of the parts. When you build a product, the passion that these people put into it, from the engineering all the way through to the manufacturing, I think it's evident. And I think that people that know our brand come to appreciate everything that goes into it. So I thank you for acknowledging it, Ben. And it is unusual, but I do think it makes us pretty unique and special as a company.
All right, I think we've covered some really important points that are relevant and are unique to the JL Audio brand, but we got to talk about some product, because that's why people are here. We need to understand some of the top tier product that you have. But for that conversation, we also need to understand that JL Audio is not just a one-trick pony in the sense that they only offer a certain tier level of product. This is a brand that is quite, has a scope of offering that has a wide breadth, both horizontally and vertical in every category. Of course, on today's show, we're going to focus in on a little bit more of the car audio components, but even within car audio, there are different levels that you can take advantage of as a dealer to offer to your customers. So let's talk a little bit about the philosophy behind that scope of offering.
Yeah, that scope is something else. Obviously, we have the different divisions within our company for the home, mobile, marine, and power sport. But as you mentioned, even within that, we have a diverse offering: subwoofers, amplifiers, component speakers, enclosures, you name it. We have lots of different options. And even within that, we have options within options. So we get excited, Ben, you and I, and probably most of the people watching, we always gravitate towards the higher level stuff, the C7 product, the W7 level product. But beyond that, we don't think that it's right for someone that doesn't have quite the budget for a product like that to get, I don't know, for lack of a better word, crappy sound. We want it all to sound good. And it's coming from the same minds. The engineers behind the C7 are the same ones that would develop the C3s, the C2s, the C1 product, and whatever future products that you'll see in the not too distant future. These products are designed from the same mindset as our premium products. So the scope of the brand, with all the different divisions that we have, the product offering within each of those, and then the depth of each one of them. Obviously VXI amplifiers, but we have all the other types of amplifiers, the XDM and the other ones, that all play in from the same mindset, the same mentality. It's really awesome to see that we can do this on a multitude of different products, as well as a multitude of different levels within each one of them.
Well, in the interest of this particular show, we have lots of opportunity to talk about the other products within other segments of our broadcasting. But we're going to zone in on that upper crust stuff, Steve, because that's what we like to do and it's fun. I've got 4 products I really want to talk about today. And I think we're going to start with the TW3. I mean, this thing is a beast. And I want to hear in your words why this is such a dominating, product within its range.
Yeah, you went right to the top of the pile again, didn't you? Yeah, I feel it. We always get really excited about the really cool stuff. And the TW3 is kind of a spin-off from the TW5, the same type of mentality, using that concentric tube pattern that we created for those thin mount products. What many people may not remember is the 13 TW5 was supposed to have a sibling in a 12-inch version. But the true engineering that went into that proved to be very complicated and was going to take a very, very long time. So we paused to think about, what did we really want from a 12-inch? And well, I think it was to fit in more applications. But there's a way that we can make a product that fits in more applications, and we can change the design a little bit to allow for a 10 and a 12. So this gave us a new opportunity. One goal that we had was to not compromise. No compromise on the performance. It's a shallow mount speaker that performs as good or possibly in some ways better than its deeper counterpart, in this case, the W3 V3. And in many ways, we've nailed that. So I remember I saw some studies that we did and what's known as the motor force and the BL of what goes into these products. And that's for simplicity, it's the linear capability of the driver and maintaining low distortion throughout that range of motion. And I know this is not the focus of what we want to talk about here from the technical side of things, but when it comes to the distinction of what a TW3 can do, it's not just a shallow product. It's one that was designed for excellent sound quality at very high listening levels in small boxes that fit in vehicles. It is a very good synopsis of how we approach our application-specific obsessive engineering. And I think it's a great example. And thank you for throwing me the softball there. I appreciate that.
Well, I'm happy that you recognize the first throw was in fact a softball kind of throw, because let's get into who cares about space, because we're talking about no compromise. And that means I will make it fit. And if that's the philosophy, then we have to talk about our next item here that, well, Steve, only you can describe it the way it should be described. And that is the monster that is the W7 sub.
Yeah, it's pretty clear that space considerations were not part of the design sheet on the W7s. There's a reason there's none on my desk right now. I can't fit it. I did have an 8 in the back I thought about pulling out, but it's just getting a little crowded here. I remember the development that went into the W7 and the amount of effort. I guess it's a coincidence that it was called the 7, but it took more than 7 years of development. I remember the engineers walking around with a cloth over what we called the Frankenstein, which was testing some of the design ideas of the W7. And we didn't have a frame. We didn't have the money to pay for castings every couple of weeks for different versions of the frame. So they were using like whatever parts we could do, threaded rods to hold parts together, changing spacing. And ultimately, what we were doing was testing what parameters make a great loudspeaker. You have to go back in the Wayback Machine to appreciate where we're coming from this, but there was not a lot of analysis software available for us to test these things. It was cut and try. And we did a lot of cut and try over those 7+ years. And ultimately, at the end, we decided this stuff is working to the point where we think we can make a very viable product. Granted, a large product, a deep product, but one that was literally no holds barred when it came to ultimate subwoofer performance. And it wasn't just loud. It was designed to play incredibly low at a linear level. It's hard to get output at lower frequencies that match that at higher frequencies. So the higher excursion that we did wasn't just to play one note really, really loud, although yes, it does that pretty well too, but it was designed to sound really, really great. And when we brought that product out a number of years ago, that really set the standard on what a true subwoofer could sound like and could perform like. It's not just an air pump. There's so much more to it. And I think, I'm a little biased, of course, but I think the W7 really kind of proved that point. Subwoofer, they matter. Making a great sounding subwoofer is not easy, and it matters. And I think the W7, it was a great example of how engineering can make us pretty good at doing those subs.
Now, it could be arguably said that the W7 might go down as the reference subwoofer when it comes to high-end car audio systems. I'd like to ask you, Steve, what do you have to say to that statement? Because let's be honest, This is one of those reference pieces or components to a high-end sub that many car audio enthusiasts would agree with that statement. However, you must have heard it as well, and I'd like to see, what your thoughts are on the legacy that is the W7.
Yeah, again, I'm probably a little bit biased, but when I hear that the W7 is a reference subwoofer, we're humbled and honored because the team really put a lot into it to try to make that product exactly what you're describing. The fact that the market did get attracted to it and adopt the W7, and again, the accolades, we're humbled and very deeply appreciative. I know the engineers have a sense of pride over the work that they put into it, and we all share that here at JL Audio, that pride in being able to offer a product that people acknowledge is really good. And I'll add to your comments, Ben, that in the mobile audio world, we've clearly done quite well with the W7, and again, sharing some of that over to the home audio world. The products that we focused on with the W7 in the home audio world have literally been called the reference subwoofer in the home audio world. So that level of detail and performance that a W7 level product can do is fantastic for home, and we've seen the benefit of car even longer than we've seen in the home. So that it's a really nice compliment that you share with us there, and again, humbled. It's rare, though, almost speechless when I hear things like that. It's thank you.
Well, Steve, listen, I have no problem of throwing credit where credit is due, and the W7 has certainly earned its place in the accolades of high-end car audio without question. Now, other items that JL Audio have put in an immense amount of thought and engineering. And in fact, this one, I do remember the launch of the C7 speaker set. Now, this was a special project for JL. It was a space that they absolutely want to dominate. They went about it in the JL Audio way. And Steve, I'd just like for you to share with us a couple of those details that went into the development of the C7 component set.
Yeah, I'm picking up what you're laying down there, Ben. Yeah. First of all, let me start by saying, anytime you see a 7 in one of our model numbers, like a W7 or a C7, there's something special about it. For whatever reason, we hold that number near and dear. The other thing that I think is funny is the shirt that I'm actually wearing is kind of funny. Originally, during the development of the C7 product, we wanted something that was not black. We wanted a cone that wasn't black. It just doesn't pop on a demo board, and people tend to buy with their eyes. So we developed a special formulation of this really cool cone color, and it was roughly this color. This shirt was actually done for, here it is, C7, right? But as we were doing the measurements and checking the performance of these cones, we compared the black cone to this color cone, and there was a measurable difference. And I know that sounds crazy, but if you add something to the cone, even a dye, it'll change its properties in sometimes a very measurable way. And we did notice with some of the measurements that we were affecting the ultimate performance. And C7, like W7, was a no holds barred. So I know that the product on the surface looks very basic, but think of it like a race car. The surface, the aerodynamics of it are important, so the shape of it is important, but the coloring of it, the ultimate cosmetics of it are far less important to us. We design from the inside out. C7, again, you mentioned the launch of it. I happened to grab the speaker frames that we use for that. This is the speaker frame that we used for the launch of the C7s. It's a three-way that we just built into a cabinet because we did the demo in a hotel room. So we had to do something with it. So we did this little demonstration using these speakers in the C7s. And I remember there was a gentleman that was at the Vegas CES show. A gentleman came in and gave a listen to the system that we had. We had two of these, and we had one of our Fathom subwoofers kind of hiding behind them for the lower end. And he sat down and he listened to the several tracks that we had. And afterwards he said, so when is JL Audio coming out with these full range products? And he said, well, these are, for the car, and they'll be available in, whatever the time frame was, 6 months or whatever. And he stopped writing and he looked up. He says, wait, did you say they're for the car? I said, yeah, why? He's like, I thought it was a home audio speaker. I thought this was your introduction into a full range home audio speaker. And you could see he was speechless and like, well, what's the problem? He's like, I write for a home audio publication, and I just came from all the home audio area, and this sounds better than anything I heard from any of them. Like, wow, really? That's cool to hear. But it kind of shows that the performance of the product is really important to us. And in this case, the application was very specific. And I'll share one last thing, and I know I get long-winded. The demonstration that we did was not literally thrown together. We pay a lot of attention to showing off what the products can do. So we worked really hard to make sure that the demo was really good. And I guess this guy got to hear that. I think our customers got to hear it as well when they've heard proper demos of the product. When done correctly, these products really shine. So yeah, C7 is very special, much the way the W7 is very special to us.
Well, Steve, to round out the audiophile grade offering from JL Audio, of course, we have to spend a little bit of time talking about these very unique and, to some people, strange amplifiers that have no controller buttons on them whatsoever. So let's talk a little bit about the VXI series of amplifiers, what makes them special, and really why they are the glue that will tie in the entire system to get that ultimate fidelity sound.
Yeah, definitely don't want to leave out those VXI amplifiers. They really did do some things strange when we first came out with them. I remember working with the tech team when we were starting to plan this new line of amplifiers, which would eventually become the VXI. And the idea was, it's going to be a DSP-based amplifier, but how do we manage the controls on the amp versus what goes on the computer? And talking with the tech guys, because if there's no controls on the amplifier, guess who's getting a phone call? My tech guys. And I wanted to make sure they were comfortable with what we were doing. And they suggested, well, why don't you just make it headless and make all the controls go into the computer world? And I looked at it and said, you guys nuts? You literally want to take all the controls off of the amplifier and put it completely on the computer side. They're like, yeah, we can manage it, no worries. Fortunately, it worked out pretty well for us. We actually came out with a phone app that's a very simplified version that kind of looks like the top of a more traditional amplifier. And that was kind of our step into the headless. You already have the head for the amplifier in your pocket. It's your phone, right? So you can make the connection and control the amplifier that way. But going to the iPad version or the tablet version or the desktop version, it opens up an enormous number of features and benefits from the product. That's where the action is. People who are using their computers to program these amplifiers. First time in our history that the excitement outside of a beautiful looking product, again, biased, but a beautiful looking product, the interface for that product is now somebody else's product. It's the screen in front of you instead. That was weird for us. Everything that went into VXI was designed around the performance in a vehicle, including the interface in our Tune software and the connections on the product and the form factor of it. It was all designed to fit into applications and give you what you're looking for. Love these little guys. Got several in my vehicle right now. Couldn't be happier with them. Tune software is the gateway to the VXI amplifiers. Check it out. Free download.
And obviously, with the success of the VXI amplifiers, the other thing to mention here is the offering. I mean, this is not a series which has, 1 6-channel, maybe a 5-channel, and a mono. This is a complete line offering that I feel that many dealers aren't even aware of. But VXI is a complete suite of different platforms within VXI that really gives you the flexibility as a system builder to do whatever you want with. So, Steve, maybe you could just walk us through kind of the mindset behind that and how deep that offering is within VXI amplification.
Yeah, it's an interesting point you bring up. Part of the design goals for VXI amplifier was the ability to have multitudes of them. 2, 4, 6, 8-channel. We had 2 5-channel amplifiers and 2 different mono amplifiers, all with full componentry for DSP. We also developed the hub that allows us to connect up to 10 of them together to basically expand to any system size that you need. The concept of the VXI amplifiers was what we called internally N+2, so the number of channels plus 2. So as an example, the 800/8i, the VX 800/8i has 8 powered channels. That's the 8, and it's 800 watts, 800 over 8 channels. And the I is the intelligence, which refers to the DSP. But there is +2. So in addition to the 8 power channels, there are 2 DSP channels as an output. This allows you to grow your system to any size. So if you need 8 channels, great. 8-channel amplifier. You need 10 channels, no problem. 8-channel amplifier plus a 2-channel amplifier. You just keep adding. And if you already have an amplifier, you can take that DSP output and put it onto an analog amplifier, which is a really nice way of growing a system. We didn't want to pigeonhole into just a predetermined type of amplifier system, something that's prepackaged. Having a lot of different models allows our dealers and consumers to pick the products that are going to make sense for their application. So that's why we did that. It wasn't easy of coming out with all those different products, all the different pieces of software to work on all the different applications. That was one of the hardest things our company ever did. And to launch all of it at the same time was truly exceptional for us. Anyone that's been watching for a long time and knows our brand knows that we're not really good at coming out with all of it at one time. And we did that with VXI. That was a very important thing for us. So yeah, it's crazy to do so many, but we did it.
All right, Steve, before I let you go, in your own words, help us understand, express your sentiments when it comes to the statement, JL Audio is audiophile grade. Tell us why.
Yeah, JL Audio is audiophile grade. What to say about that? Well, I'll share from me, from the heart, is, I love this stuff. We're playing with cool stuff. It's audio stuff. It's fun. Our engineers share that passion. Our manufacturing team shares that passion. Our marketing team, our tech support team, we put a lot of ourselves into these products. We feel very connected to them. We are driven to make a great sounding product. And I think as a brand, that's what gives us a distinction, that we're just not making little widgets and putting them on shelves and hoping that people like them. We're making stuff that we like. I love this stuff. This is fun for me. Yes, they pay me too, which is also really nice. But the truth is that we're very passionate about the products that we make, from the engineering all the way through manufacturing. And I think, and our success over the years, I think, has proven that we are audiophile grade because we are audiophiles, and this is what we do. So, thank you for appreciating what we're offering, and, grab all you want. We'll keep making it for you. Sound like a plan?
That was JL Audio's Steve Turrisi. We're very happy to be able to spend some time with Steve and hear his insight about the audiophile, conversation here with regards to JL Audio. Now, as he mentioned, if you're looking for any more details of any of the products that we covered on today's show, make sure to head over to their website, jlaudio.com. Now, if you happen to be a dealer from Canada tuning in, then obviously you already know that Gemsen is in fact the partner and distribution for all things JL Audio in Canada. On that note, we're reaching out to our good friend Dave Singh, who's standing by. Dave, this was an awesome session, when it comes to getting some insight about JL Audio as a brand. Hearing Steve Turrisi tell us the stories about the innovation, the engineering, and everything else in between certainly is, inspiring to say the least. What can you add to this conversation from your experience of distributing JL Audio and being their representation here in Canada for so many years?
Hey, Ben. Yeah, it's been great to see JL Audio blossom into the company that it is today. We've been partners with JL Audio almost from the very beginning, and to see what they've transitioned to from their humble beginnings to the monster that they are today, and being part of that ride has been nothing but a pleasure. But one of the things I really want to hit home with is, until you get to visit the factory and see the people, I don't think anybody can have a true understanding to the passion, the drive behind the team at JL Audio. This is not a company that cuts corners. This is a company that believes in doing things right. Sometimes it's not the easiest way, but it's the right way. So one of the things that dealers should really value is, just like they value their value in the retail market. Perhaps it's the quality of the installations. The way that they do all of their wiring, train tracks and tessa tape and all that other type of stuff, that all dictates the cost of their service and their overall value. And that translates over to JL Audio. They're not cutting corners. They're using the best materials possible when they're building their speakers. The mechanisms, the production lines, all that type of stuff, they're building that in-house. And the same engineers, like Steve said, that are designing the speakers are also designing the production lines. And that's to ensure that the product is coming out in the best quality possible. Precision engineering, precision production. I've seen things like, little jigs that ensure that tinsel leads aren't going to be too long, so you don't get that annoying tinsel lead slap or premature failure. It's just really an honor to see and to be a part of what they are doing. And I really hope that dealers have an understanding of the value of the company, and to see them grow into other categories and take that same type of drive and ambition into power sports, into marine audio and home audio. This is also a company that dealers can grow with. As we've all gotten older, maybe 215s in the back of the Honda Civic isn't practical anymore, but maybe now you have a boat. Well, you can get that JL Audio performance in your boat, and they're driving, and they're one of the leading audio manufacturers in the marine industry. Should you be in the home audio? The JL Audio home products, the subwoofer products, are considered the industry reference. And kudos to the JL Audio team overall. In everything they've touched, they've managed to become the industry reference and the company to quite often, be copied or duplicated or replicated. At the end of the day, imitation is the greatest form of flattery. The important thing to remember, JL Audio is where the innovation started and will continue to start from.
And there you have it. I want to take this opportunity to thank both my guests today, both Steve Turrisi from JL Audio, as well as Dave Singh from Gemsen. And my closing comments, what can I say? First of all, we were treated to a great story time telling from Steve TURRISI himself, and just to recollect some of those key clutch moments in JL Audio history, to remind you guys, this is a brand that is born in innovation, not trend-setting, but leading the pack by sometimes straying off the path that's most popular, but innovating new technologies and ways to do things. I think if anything at all, what's been demonstrated today is that JL Audio is a absolute center of technology, of innovation, and of engineering. It continues to evolve with time and with the type of technology that is existing at that moment. Who knows where this leads? One thing I do know for sure, that whatever the next rendition, the next product, the next chapter, or the next evolution of JL Audio, it will be met with absolute obsessive engineering. And you know what? Like Steve said, he's having fun. So as long as Steve's having fun, we know we're going to get great, fantastic, great sounding, fun product too. That's it for this CMA Connected, brought to you by SiriusXM. I'm your host, Ben Wu. Until next time, we connect.
There's never been a better time to have SiriusXM with over 150 channels in your vehicle. Your Platinum Plan offer includes more than ever before to enjoy online, on your phone, or at home. Create your own ad-free personalized stations powered by Pandora. Hear ad-free extra channels and enjoy favorite shows with SiriusXM Video on Demand. What you love is on now.